Hello everyone and welcome back to the Introduction to Web Development course here at Shaw Academy. Of course, I don't mean come back, I mean welcome for the first time to the Introduction to Web Development. This is lesson 1 and today we'll be talking about the World Wide Web. My name is Julian Quirk and I am the Web Development Educator here at Shaw Academy. Hello to everyone saying hello in the chat box. We've got Mohammed and Wooter. Mohammed is saying, pretty ready and excited as it's my first online e-learning. Well, glad to hear that. Ronnie's actually saying the same thing, first time out, so curious as to how it all works. Simon saying that I'm ready. Hello from Johannesburg. Hello smiley face from Abdalgader. Leon and Goran and Minky saying hello. And hey from Eldigius, Monique, Goran, Ibrahim, Joyce. Loads of you guys coming in from all the other chat boxes as well. We've got I'm from Dublin from Joshua. Well, hello. We are also based in Dublin here at Shaw Academy, so it's good to have you with us as well. Neil is saying I'm in England. Samuel, you're asking when do we start? You asked about 40 seconds ago. We're starting right now, so I hope you're excited for the lesson. Ahmed is saying, I'm watching from the browser. Is that correct, or is there another software? That is correct. This is a web-based company, so everything you need is available on the website. Okay, so good to have you all, guys. Hello from Centurion, South Africa as well. All right, guys, it's good to have so many of you guys online and excited and ready to learn about web development. We are going to be getting into the course fairly quickly, but for those of you guys who are new to Shaw Academy, I do want to just have a quick mention about myself and also a little bit about Shaw Academy as well. First of all, guys, as I've mentioned, my name is Julian Quirk and I have a BA in mathematics. Now, that might seem strange because I'm teaching web development, but that's because my background actually is in engineering. So that includes mechanical, computer, and electronic. And I've also had some time in a past life as a mobile app developer. I also have some other interests, including music and solving Rubik's Cubes, so I hope that's something that you guys share as well. Logic and puzzles are something that I find truly enjoyable, and well, to be honest, being a web developer or any kind of developer is kind of like a solving problem career, so it kind of works the same way as that. Sean is saying, I think there's a problem with the mic, so I might just move the mic away from my mouth. Maybe that'll help things a little bit. Okay, so guys, that's all about me, I guess. But now just a quick note on Shaw Academy. You'll have seen a little bit about this earlier on. But it was founded in 2012, guys. Good 4 years ago now. It is the largest live educator on the planet. We are the only company online, really, that has any live education services. There are a few others, but we are by and far the largest. And as a result, we have offices across the world as well. Now, I'm still getting a couple of reports saying that there's some problems with the sound. So just 1 second, guys, while I just do some quick settings changes to make sure that the noise gate is applying properly. So let's see. Okay, so maybe this will be a little bit better for you guys. Hopefully it won't cut out too much now. So we'll say like this maybe will be fine for you guys. Hopefully that works better. Yes, some flicker in the sound. Yeah, that would have probably been my cutoff points were incorrectly calibrated for the lesson. So thank you for that. Okay, all right, so just to continue on for a moment, there are a couple of questions in the chat box that I've already spotted that I'd like to answer, but I'm going to finish this section first, guys, and then I'm going to refer to the questions box. That will be the format for the most part for the duration of this course as well. Alright then, so most of you guys are already Premium Plus members with Shaw Academy, but just to let you know, for those of you guys who are not, that means that you won't have all of the same access as a Premium Plus member. You'll have to pay for the final assignment if you wish to do the final assignment and get your included e-diploma as mentioned, and also guys, you won't have automatic access to toolkits. Now, we give you guys toolkits for lessons 1 through 3 automatically, so don't worry about that even if you're not a Premium Plus member. But after that point, guys, should you wish to continue with your course toolkits, I would recommend upgrading to Premium Plus. Additionally, guys, there is a time limit, of course, if you are not a Premium Plus member on the course. The course deadline for non-Premium Plus members or premium members as well included in this is, let me just check the quick dates there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then we've got the week after. So I do believe that is Wednesday, the 5th of April is the deadline for those of you guys who are not Premium Plus members. Of course, you guys who already are Premium Plus members will know that you guys have no deadlines and all of that good stuff. Quick note, guys, for those of you who are on the free trial, you might be wondering why do we do that? Well, of course, we want to give you guys the opportunity to see the education that we offer here. So you guys get full access to an introduction course in terms of the content, and you can also test drive what it's like to be a Premium Plus member. The way that you know exactly what to expect as a member, of course, with Show Academy, rather than joining without the experience of the quality of our courses, our students do aim that our courses have changed their lives, and we do want to give everyone else this amazing opportunity as well to see the power of education and what it can actually do for you. Alright guys, so as I've mentioned already, but I'm going to say it one more time just in case, you guys will automatically unlock the first 3 toolkit bonus content. That includes slides, notes, your starter pack, and also the first 2 bonus videos absolutely free just by attending lessons 1 through 3. Now, if you want access after that point, I'll let you know all the details come lesson 3, which is this time next week, so you don't have to worry about all of that kind of stuff as well. So guys, as an added bonus, we are giving away a free 12-month Premium Plus membership prize. For those of you guys who aren't already Premium Plus members, you have an opportunity to win this simply by attending the lessons all the way up to lesson 3. Now, as an added bonus, as Premium Plus members, you get access to all the courses and the Advanced Web Development course, which is a direct continuation of this course. You'll also get access to toolkits and access to all the examinations absolutely free. So I hope that one of you guys is a very lucky winner. There is going to be one winner exactly for this Premium Plus membership prize in this course. So all you have to do, guys, is to keep attending and you'll have that opportunity. Alright guys, so I'm going to move on to the course agenda now. Our first week, guys, is familiarizing with the web. So today's lesson, we already kind of know what's going on. We're just having an overview of the course and Show Academy systems in general. We're also going to have a look at the value of websites and what they can actually do for a business as well as for the users of a website rather than the standard brick and mortar model. Additionally, we're going to have a look at some of the key terms in the industry because for most of you guys who are new to either programming or web development in general, you may not know some of the terms that I may have already used or will be using over the rest of the course. So we're just going to give you guys a quick primer on the kind of terms to expect and what they mean. Come our next lesson in just a couple of days, guys, we're going to have a look at how websites actually work. So we'll have a look at the differences and similarities between websites and web applications, and we'll also have a look at the components of a web application as well, all the individual parts that make up a complete, fully functioning web application. Finally, we're going to dive into networking just a little bit to explain to you guys how the whole thing works, how a user can request a web page to the internet and somehow magically get the web page back into their browser. We'll explain how the whole process works and what that means for you guys as aspiring web developers, what you'll need to do to make sure that that works. Additionally, after lesson 2, your first toolkit bonus video will be unlocked, and if you guys want to be practical web developers or are thinking about it, I strongly recommend watching this video just to get yourself set up with your development environment. Alright guys, so that brings us to week 2, which will be the actual process of building a website. So this consists of 2 parts, guys, the front end of web development and the back end of web development, which is lesson 4. So the front end, guys, is everything you see in the browser. We'll have a look at all the technologies involved, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And for attending lesson 3, you will automatically unlock your second toolkit lesson, which will be how we can create our first HTML document. Alright, so then guys, Lesson 4 is the back end of web development. Now, this is a side of web development that most users or people who are new to development won't actually have seen or heard of before. This is where the actual magic takes place, guys. This is what makes websites truly valuable, is the back end side, the logic, the brain, the thinking, and the memory of the web application. Also, guys, for attending lesson 4, you will unlock your third toolkit video, which is how you can style your web page with CSS. This is what makes your web page look good. In week 3, guys, we'll be achieving the end game. So we'll actually be putting our website online and available to the world, because there is a difference, guys, between a development, which is what we'll be doing for the most part in this introduction course, and having a live website that other people on the internet can actually access. And then in your lesson 5, your final toolkit video will be unlocked, which is how you can add interaction with JavaScript. JavaScript is really useful, guys, for making things more appealing, because you can have menus opening up smoothly, you can have dynamic loading of pages, all these exciting things, and I'll be talking about the basics of that in lesson 4's toolkit video. Lesson 6, guys, we'll be talking about the job roles that are available in web development. There are a lot of them, as I've mentioned. Or, of course, some of you guys will be interested in building your own website from start to finish, and we'll be talking about how you can go about getting yourself to that point as well. And finally, guys, week 4, we'll be talking about making money, and of course how we can get users to our website as well. So marketing, guys, is a big part of running a website. So for those of you guys who want to run your own, or if you're running one for your own business, these lessons will be particularly interesting for you. Okay, guys, finally, our goal in this course is to learn how to build a successful website from start to finish. This means success is a key word, guys. There's no point in building a website if nobody visits it, except maybe to make yourself feel good. But if we want to get the full thing working, guys, if we want to build a sustainable website, well, we're going to have to go through things one by one. Alright, so I've just noticed, guys, that I haven't seen an updated message in about 3 minutes, which is shocking considering how many of you guys are here. So if you guys don't mind just typing something into the chat box just to let me know that you are here and you can see and hear what I'm saying, that would be absolutely brilliant. I'm just going to keep a look here. We got Luminita saying I'm taking notes. Okay, great stuff. Looks like it's just a visual bug on my side, guys. It says that there's only 4 people online, which is completely insane because there were a lot more than that about 5 minutes ago. So, alright, good stuff, guys. Appreciate it. Everything is going well from Leanne. That's great. Still here listening intently, here and awake, taking notes. Sound and visual, some here. Cesari is here. Okay, good stuff, guys. Looks like we're fine on a technical perspective. I was just worried that somehow you guys might have got cut off from the lesson. Alright, guys, so just a quick look at today's lesson. We introduced Show Academy Systems and had a look at the course agenda already. So in terms of the content, guys, we'll be looking at the function or the value of building a website, and then some of the key terms in the industry. And guys, you'll notice that there'll be a running theme for the next 4 weeks. We'll always finish things off with a summary and a bonus Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions that sit just beside or outside the actual course content, you are more than welcome to ask me there. I'll be here for 15 to 30 minutes at the end of the lesson, each and every lesson, guys, to help you guys and answer your questions. It's the value of attending live, guys. The Q&A session is for those of you guys who are willing to make the effort, and you can ask any question you like here. Emad is saying, I wrote your agenda as well. That's great to hear, Emad. Just a quick note though, guys, I do upload the lesson slides and the lesson notes after each lesson as part of the toolkit as well. Be giving you more details at the end of the lesson, so if you're worried that I'm going too fast for notes, don't, because I will be uploading the slides and the notes after each lesson. Mike is asking a good question as well. Will we be able to watch these lessons again later on the site? Yes, absolutely, Mike, you can. Every live lesson is recorded, and then within about 24 hours it's uploaded. If you log into your website using your email address and password, you can access all of the lessons that you've unlocked so far by over the next 4 weeks. Kathy, you're more than welcome, saying presentation is really good. Glad to hear it. Just 1 second, guys. We're going to get started now in just a second, but it's quite warm in this room, so I'm just going to take off my jumper. I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back, and let's go ahead and get started with our first topic of the day. So we're looking at the value of websites, guys, and the first thing I want to do is to define what a website actually is. So a website, guys, it is a location, aka a server, which is connected to the internet that contains one or more web pages. So what this means, guys, is that a website is actually on a computer, and a server is simply a computer that's connected to the internet, and it contains one or more web pages. Websites, guys, at the end of the day are made up of lots and lots of individual web pages that work together to create a seamless website. So as you guys probably know, websites are great because they allow us to share information and knowledge, and as you guys probably know as well, all the news sites available in the world, all the social media sites, so much information is available to us. And at the end of the day, guys, Facebook, the New York Times, all of these are websites that share information and knowledge. You can also get access to products and services online as well. So Amazon provides purchasing of products. You can also purchase digital products as well. You can purchase services like, I don't know, digital software for your computer using a website to connect to the company that you wish to purchase from. And finally, sort of linked in as well, is entertainment. So obviously Facebook doubles as a form of entertainment. You also get things like, what's the name of that website? Netflix. Thank you very much. Netflix is a form of entertainment, and it's all available, guys, by building websites. All of that together, guys, is basically trade between a person and a company. So all of these things, guys, are allowed by websites, and they have a big advantage over the traditional model. So let's have a look, first of all, guys, at some of the companies that would provide these services. As I've mentioned, Amazon and the New York Times, they provide products, they provide newspapers. But I want to ask you guys, what does Google allow you to do? I'm just going to give you guys a few seconds to type something into the chat box here. What does Google actually provide? Because Google seems like it doesn't sell anything, it doesn't give you news as such, it's not their news that it's giving you. So what does Google actually do, guys? Let's see, we got Beverly saying search on facts, Jared is coming in with a correct answer, service, Fiona saying information, Christelle saying a search engine, answers to everything, that's true as well. Google is a search engine, very good. Information search engine. You're absolutely right, guys. Google is something quite unique because it's a service, right? It provides a service of searching the internet, but it only exists because other websites exist as well. So it's like a meta website because it provides the service of allowing you to search other websites. So it's pretty cool and unique in that way. Of course, you have YouTube to provide entertainment, and you have Shaw Academy as well, of course, which provides education online. Alright guys, so I want to have a quick comparison now between the old model and the new model. So the brick and mortar model, guys, is the name for a business that uses a physical location. So let's say we have a bunch of customers that want to go to a shop to buy a product or a service or some form of entertainment, whatever kind of trade that the customers might want for. Well, of course, the problem with having a brick and mortar business is that you have heavy transport costs and also heavy storage costs. Of course, you need to employ people to look after your shop, employ people to take care of everything from the shop floor to the management. And then the big expense, guys, is the cost of rent. To have a shop in a very important lot in the city center, it's very, very expensive. However, all of these things combined, they do allow you, that shop, to provide a service to those customers. But what happens, guys, if you either move to a digital model or you have the digital model as part of your sales technique? Well, first things first, guys, the cost of transport, the cost of storage, and the cost of rent drop massively. Websites are very, very cheap to maintain. Buying a website domain name is like €5 a year, whereas if you're buying an actual location to sell your goods, that is a lot more expensive. Additionally, guys, you get access to way more customers. The internet is full of people looking to buy products. So if you know how to sell your website or make your website more visible, you can get access to the entire world if you know what you're doing. On top of that, guys, you don't need people looking after the shop front, not in the same way as you would for a standard business model. So the cost of your employment goes down. At the very least, you have fewer employees who might be slightly higher paid. And all of that, guys, it means for two things. For the owner, it means that it's cheaper to have their goods online. It's easier to organize their business, and also it's more flexible. It's far easier to move your website's domain name than it is to move your shop from one location to another. It also has benefits for the user as well. If a user wants to purchase something, it's so much faster for them to access the internet than it is for them to travel into the city center, go find the appropriate shop and make the purchase. It's also cheaper because if it's cheaper for the owner, it's cheaper for the user as well. And finally, guys, thanks to companies like Google, it's much easier for them to find exactly what they want. So just gonna have a quick look, guys, at the questions box before we go into the next section. Is it a marketing platform from Pierre? Well, yes, actually marketing is the way that Google makes its money, but it's not really, that's not the purpose of Google. Google's purpose is to provide information, but it actually uses marketing and advertising to make its income. Keywords to websites, still more questions coming in. Selling information. Yes, but first I want to gain the basics. I assume that was an answer to one of our support agents. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention we've got James Mallon, we've got Aisha, and we also will have Oisin Feely as well, providing live support to all of you guys. So if you guys ever have any questions, they will be happy to answer you if I'm not there to answer you straight away. So warm welcome to them, guys. But many people loses their jobs. Sister saying many people, I would say yes and no, because what happens is that you get a lower number of people but who are better paid. So it can help the economy and it will encourage people to upskill as well, which is what you guys are currently doing, guys. You are improving your skill set, increasing your earning potential, all of that good stuff. I like the user instead of consumer notion. Absolutely, because not necessarily do they want to, you don't want to think of them as leads as much as you want to think of them as people who want to use your site. You mentioned domain purchase. Who do you buy it from? Dylan, I'll be answering that actually in a later lesson. I don't want to go into too much detail just yet because it might confuse some people because we haven't covered the early ground yet. Sorry guys, I'm just coughing there for a second. Okay, so we're going to access to information, security costs, integrated system, connection to web pages. Thought I was answering the question. Ads. Yes, Google do provide ads, but again, it's how they make their money rather than anything else. Just 1 second, guys. We have a minor emergency. I'll be right back. Sorry, I hope the audio is a little bit better now. We had to pause the webinar just to make sure that the sound was working okay. So our IT guy came in and asked me to do that. So, all right, Alex is saying you're back as well. So apologies for that, guys. That was a minor delay on our end. Okay, so guys, the last thing we covered was the value of websites for both the owner and for the user as well. Upskilling, nice term. Absolutely, Yolandi. It is a commonly used term, but it does mean that we are improving ourselves always. Each individual human becomes more valuable economically and can earn a higher income as a result. Hello, Mohammed. I hope the sound is back for you as well. Audio is much better from Ibrahim. Good stuff. Okay, so sorry about the delays, guys. Let's move into key terms in the industry now, which is the next topic for today. All right, guys. So some of the web development terminology that I may have already been using, but I will be using certainly over the next 4 weeks. It may be something you guys are unused to. So I'm going to go over them in detail now and talk about them a little bit just to get you guys used to the words that are available and that we will be using, and to have a good understanding of them before we actually cover them from a technical perspective. So I've already talked about a website, but let's just go ahead and quickly review it in a different way, guys. So a website, it is a collection of web pages written in HTML that are connected to the internet. Now I've introduced a new term called HTML. HTML will be our topic for our next class. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's the way that content is determined on the internet. It has to be written in HTML, or else web browsers won't understand what you're writing, and also, guys, search engines like Google or Yahoo also won't be able to understand what you're writing unless you're writing them in HTML. So for every website that you load, guys, it's actually written in HTML, and HTML makes up a web page, and then multiple web pages make up a website. So there's a bit of a chain of command there. So we'll be slowly working our way backwards to the languages that build a website, and then we'll look at some of the more interesting languages that allow us to make our content look very interesting. Things like CSS and JavaScript, and then the back end as well. Okay, just one quick check. It's back now. Tea is almost ready. Neil, we will be finishing the lesson, the actual lesson material, in about 15 minutes. Okay, so now I want to talk about the next topic, which is a web application. Now, a web application, guys, you may have heard the term, but it's very important to note that a web application is not the same as a website. It is an extension of a website to give it more capabilities. So, web applications, guys, these are dynamic, and they're server-driven websites that can deliver personalized websites to a user. So I'm going to go over some of the key terms here to explain exactly what I mean. So the first thing I want to talk about is the term dynamic. So for example, you guys are currently using a chat box. Whenever you guys type into the chat box, my chat box from you guys gets updated so that I know that you guys have asked me a question. And this works, guys, because the Shaw Academy system is a web application. Whenever you guys type something into the chat box and you press enter or send, well, it gets sent to the server all the way in the middle of Europe in Germany, where it gets translated by the Shaw Academy programming, and then it gets sent back out to me, and it's dynamically done using back-end languages, and that means that it's server driven. Now finally, I want to talk about personalized websites, because obviously you guys will have noticed that there are some websites out there that no matter who you are visiting that website, it will look the same. So for example, the New York Times website, it will look the exact same whether you're logging in from the US, whether you have an account in, Europe, or an account in Africa. The New York Times website will look the exact same, and it will provide the same content to each user. However, web applications like Facebook or web applications like YouTube, what they can do, guys, is that they can decide based on their data that they've all gathered on you guys what content you guys prefer the most, and they will send you guys that content only. And this means, guys, that their web application is more interesting to each person that views their website, and this is what really creates a web application. YouTube and Facebook actually bring it one step further. It's user-generated content that gets sent to users as well, but we'll be talking about that in a little bit more detail later. I have a quick question from Beverly saying, is HTML better than Java? Now, HTML is actually not the same thing as Java, because Java is a programming language, whereas a software programming language, whereas HTML is a declarative language that's specifically used to mark up content for the internet. So they are two different things. They serve two different purposes. You can't really compare one to the other. Hope that answers your question, Beverly. Okay, So the next thing I want to talk about, guys, is the front end. Now, the front end, I've already mentioned when I talked about our upcoming course agenda, but I want to clarify in a little bit more detail. The front end refers specifically to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that's built for a user to see and interact with a website or web application. So the front end, guys, is everything that gets downloaded to your computer when you're loading up a web page. So HTML is the content of the page, the CSS is how that content actually looks, and the JavaScript is all of the interesting things like pressing the send button, sending information to the server, or opening a menu, or some cool animations that might be on any given web page. So the JavaScript is sort of anything extra that's not covered by HTML and CSS. We'll be covering these languages in a practical sense in our Toolkit bonus videos, and we'll be covering them in detail in our next, in lesson 3, when we look in detail at how we can actually write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as well. Is HTML a coding type, or is a program, for example, C++ and Java? So HTML is actually a programming language, but it's different from something like C++ and Java because it's known as a declarative language rather than a procedural language. So HTML, it's static and it doesn't change unless something else changes it. Like something like JavaScript can change HTML, but HTML has no ability to change itself. It's just a way of marking up content. So for example, if you have some text, you can tell the web browser that it's text. If you have an image, you can tell it that it's an image. Or if you even have a video, you can tell it that it's a video. HTML serves all of these purposes and more. But we'll be looking at that in more detail again in next week's lesson 3. Let's see. Just for create nice simple looking website, yes, you can actually create a basic web page with just HTML, but in the modern day it won't be very appealing to look at. It'll actually kind of look like a basic Microsoft Word document. Okay, so that's enough about the front end for now. Let's talk about the back end now. The back end, guys, is distinct because it is the data access layer, and it's built specifically to provide this dynamic content to a user of a web application. It's important to note, guys, that for a website, you don't actually need a back end, but for a web application, you do. So the back end is everything. You can think of it like the brain of a web application. The logic, the thinking, the processing, and also the memory as well. The memorization of information for future use. So for example, our Show Academy systems can remember what course you've registered for because it has a back-end memory system that it can see and use to remember that you guys have signed up to a particular course. So Beverly's asking a good question again. Is Flash front end or back end? Flash is actually front end, but it's not actually a front end language. It is something special that was created specifically for animations in a website. It's kind of falling out of favor, and I don't really want to talk too much about Flash other than to say there are now modern techniques that are better than Flash. Would a web application be like WordPress? WordPress is a content management system, which we'll be talking about later. And yes, it is a web application, Kathy. Very good. Hi, the video stopped. You can't hear the video. Achal, I hope it's back for you now. Okay. Would you use PHP or HTML? So again, Eligious, PHP and HTML are not the same thing, and they serve a different purpose. PHP is a back-end language as it happens to do the thinking and the processing and the interaction with the memory, whereas again, HTML is the same as it always was. It's simply a place to put content. I know this can be a bit confusing for those of you guys who are new, but it will be covered in depth in the next couple of weeks, guys. Okay, so now I want to talk about servers. I've already mentioned, guys, that it's a computer, but it specifically is a computer that provides services or resources in a network. So a server does not have to be a web server. It just has to be a way of providing something. You could have a print server inside your offices if you guys work in an office. Well, then it means that your computer can connect to that server and ask it to print some files for you. Additionally, it could store information. So let's take Google Drive as an example. Google Drive exists on a server. It's not a web server because it doesn't provide a website, but it does store files, so you can download them from that server somewhere in wherever the Google servers are currently. So, what about a web server, and what makes a web server distinct from a regular server? Well, a web server, guys, it's a computer that provides the services specifically of delivering web pages through the internet. So the web server has two special features. It has the service of delivering web pages, and it delivers these web pages through the internet. So the internet I'll talk about in a moment, but when I talk about delivering web pages, guys, it means that the web server actually has to have special software installed on it in order to do its job properly. You can't have a web server that you just kind of have and expect it to work. You have to install special software, you have to configure it, and all of these things, which we'll be talking about again in a later lesson. Before I talk about the internet, I want to answer a question. Can I create a web server on my PC? The answer is yes. Any computer can actually act as a web server. However, I would strongly recommend against it because a regular personal PC is not strong enough to work as a web server. You need specialized hardware and software. And again, we'll be talking about this in a later lesson. Is the web server the domain? Sort of, and also not quite. The domain is actually just a special network referencing mechanism to choose the web server, but the web server sits separate from the domain name. So for example, if you type the word google.com into your browser, it's asking the network that is the internet, which we'll be defining in a moment, to find that web server that's connected to that domain name. So it's a little bit more complicated than that, I guess. What about a virtual server running on a personal PC? Not going to get into that now, actually, but that is something different again. Okay, so the internet, guys, it is a global computer network that provides information and communication facilities using standardized protocols. So what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, guys, it is a network. So it's just like a local area network that you would have in an office, or let's say you have all of your computers connected in your house together. Well, those are just small networks. The internet, on the other hand, is a giant network of every single computer in the world that's connected to the internet. So it is basically the world's largest computer network. Now, it also mentions standardized protocols. Now, this means, guys, that it has to use a specific method to communicate information because websites have to be transferred in a certain way, namely HTTP and HTTPS. These are the two ways you can send information via a web page through the internet. Now, there are other protocols as well for transferring files and emails and all these kinds of things, but that's not really part of this course. So we'll be focusing on transferring web pages through the internet in the next 4 weeks. What is a protocol? Is it similar to an API? Sort of. A protocol is a fixed sequence in which information is sent. So it's a series of instructions that you have to follow. So yes, it is similar to an API in that way. Guys, you guys are asking some really great questions actually, but I do want to finish the content of the class before I get too sidetracked. So I'm going to come back and answer all of these questions at the end, okay? All right. So guys, just to go into a little bit more detail about the internet and how it serves as a network. Let's say someone types in the URL or the domain name facebook.com into his computer. This request is sent through the internet to the web server at the Facebook data center. Now, how that actually works is about networking and network protocols and network administration. We don't have to worry too much about that other than to know that it works. Now what happens then, guys, is the web server does all of its calculations and then it sends the requested content back to the user's browser, again through the internet. So it's a relatively simple process at the moment, but we will be expanding on all of these things in the next 4 weeks again. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, guys, before we talk about the programming key terms that I want to talk about is content management systems. Somebody told me about WordPress earlier on, and you guys will have probably heard about WordPress if you are interested in web development. But content management system, guys, well, WordPress is a content management system. What is a content management system, though? It's a computer application that supports the creation and modification of digital content. So if you want to be a web developer, you want to build systems that allow you to provide information on the net. So you're trying to build a website. A content management system, guys, is there for those of you, for those people who don't wish to actually do any coding or developing. They just want to do something specific, and content management systems fill that purpose. So they're for the logically or digitally inclined people who just want to, create a blogging website or something like that. And they are very powerful, guys. You can do a lot of things with them, but they are also limited because you can't do anything that you can possibly imagine. If you're developing a website, anything that you can imagine, it is possible to create on a website. Content management systems, though, are there for those of you guys who don't really wish to learn to program, but just want to put some sort of blogging site online or something like that. Will there be a lesson about Ajax? There will be in the advanced course. It's not in the introduction course. Again, I'm going to avoid answering too many more questions until the end of the class. Okay, so guys, I want to talk about programming languages now because we are going to be doing programming. It's a very important part of being a web developer. And there are some terms in programming that may be new for some of you guys. First things first, guys, what is a programming language? Well, it's a formal computer language that's designed to communicate instructions to a machine, particularly, of course, a computer. So most people in the world who build any kind of software these days will be learning to use a programming language or several programming languages in order to do that. It's actually no different for web developers, except that we have a specific subset of programming languages that we will want to use in order to build a web application. At the end of the day, though, guys, whether you're building a website or you're building a computer game or you're building the next Microsoft Word, well, you're going to be using a sequence of instructions that you're going to be giving to the computer. It's worth noting, guys, that computers can't think for themselves. You have to tell them how to think, when to think, why to think, and what to do, what to remember, what not to remember. You have to be absolutely explicit in what you tell a computer to do. Okay, so now that we know about the programming languages, what languages are we going to be using? Well, I've already mentioned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are all programming languages, guys. We're also going to be learning PHP eventually when we're talking about the back end, and we're also going to be learning about some other software that abstracts programming for us as well. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about, guys, is a computer library, because we will be using libraries eventually in the advanced course. So I'd like to introduce the term to you guys now so that you'll understand what it means when it comes to us using it. So a library, guys, is a set of pre-written routines that can be used in different applications. So what I mean by this, guys, is that some of the coding has been done for us. If you use a library that's available on the internet, it's actually something that someone else has written that does some of the more common programming tasks, except that it's already set up. And all you have to do then is use the library in the correct way for your particular web application. So that means, guys, that the user code, which is what we would be writing, it calls the library. We'll be talking about the term calling a little bit later. Now, a framework, guys, is different. So a framework is kind of the polar opposite to a library, because it's a piece of software that provides a generic functionality which can be personalized with user-written code. So frameworks, guys, are more strict than libraries because the framework already exists and then you put your code inside it. So the framework is actually calling your code at the right time. Now, it'll be hard to understand exactly what that means for us, but you'll see once we start to learn how to program exactly what the difference is. Just to give you guys some examples of libraries and frameworks, some of the common libraries in web development include jQuery, which is one of the most popular libraries available, and some of the more common frameworks that you'll have heard of is things like AngularJS, which is the JavaScript framework for front-end development. Okay, so I mentioned the term call. Now, there's actually a strict definition of calling. So before I do that, though, I want to talk about declarations. Because in order to understand calling, you have to understand what a declaration is. So a declaration, guys, it specifies the properties of a word or an identifier in a computer programming language, optionally setting it to an initial value. So if we go back quickly to the library that we were talking about, libraries actually make lots of declarations without doing anything. So they declare a lot of functions, something we'll be covering again in the next couple of weeks, but they don't do anything with those functions. It's up to us to use those functions. On the other hand, guys, you can do what's known as calling. So the call is the action of accessing an identifier's value in a computer programming language. So this means that we're actually going to be using something that's already been created. So just to give a very basic example, guys, if you wanted to store a user's name, you can say my username is equal to, and you can give it a value. And then that means that the computer will remember it for a little bit of time, and then a little bit later in your code you can actually call that value, and all you have to say is, what is my username? Okay, it's this value, and then you can do whatever you want with it. And this is the power of programming, guys, because you can perform the same actions on lots of different values by using this declaration and call method. Okay, so a lot of good questions are still coming in, but let me just go ahead and finish up the class because that ends our seriously large number of definitions for today. Now, a lot of these terms won't make much sense yet, but once we start to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it will make a lot more sense. Alright guys, so big congratulations. Lao Tzu's quote, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." And you guys have all taken your first step today by coming to this class, by listening to me talk about definitions and whatnot. So congratulations, guys. And we will be here with you for the next 4 weeks, keeping in touch, making sure that you're all fine. Myself and the support team who are there, making sure you guys are okay as well. Okay guys, so we introduced Shaw Academy and our course for the next 4 weeks. We also had a look at the function of websites and some of the key terms in the industry as well. Now we finished up with our summary and we're going to get into our Q&A in about 2 minutes, guys, so just bear with me. Alright, so our next session is how do websites work? We'll be covering the differences and similarities between a website and a web application. Additionally, we'll be taking a closer look at the individual components that make up a successful web application that's fully functional. Finally, we'll take a look at some of the networking aspects about delivering websites to a browser. Guys, don't forget also that your first toolkit bonus video will be unlocked after this session. So if you're not a Premium Plus member particularly, you'll need to attend the lesson in order to unlock the video. Don't forget to keep attending the lessons live to keep growing your knowledge. And don't forget about our 12-month membership prize draw in lesson 3 as well. Guys, if you ever want to watch the recordings of the live lessons, they're always available within about 24 hours of the live webinar, and you can access it by logging into your member account on the Shaw Academy website. Quick note on the toolkit bonus videos, guys. There are 4 in total. The first is to set up your development environment. Second is creating your first HTML document, which is unlocked after lesson 3. Then the third is styling your web page with CSS after lesson 4. And finally, we're adding interaction with JavaScript, which is unlocked after lesson 5. Additionally, guys, you can get your diploma once you get to the end of this course. And just to let you know of the format, it is a multiple choice questions format with 100 questions in total. You can get a pass with 50%, a merit with 70%, and a distinction with 85%. I expect the majority of you students who watch each and every lesson to do at least a merit, if not a distinction. Of course, if you're a Premium Plus member, the examination and e-diploma are completely free, or you can get a hard copy for $19.95. If you're not a Premium Plus member, the price is increased, of course, for logistical reasons and in general, so do bear that in mind as well. So guys, you can access all the recordings of each lesson as I've mentioned, but not only that, you can also access the assignments as well. So each week an assignment is released for you guys just for review purposes, as well as your final assignment, which will be released at the end of the course, which will give you your e-diploma or your hard copy diploma if you've purchased the hard copy diploma. Alright guys, if you wish to keep in touch with Shaw Academy, and I strongly recommend you do, if you like our Facebook page or you follow the @Shaw Academy Twitter handle, you'll hear all of the updates about our news, anything that's happening, and also some of our weekly social media challenge questions, which I will be uploading once a week over the next 4 weeks, and you'll get them through these handles. Alright guys, we are into the Q&A session now. I'm going to leave this Q&A slide up, and then I'm going to have a look at some of the questions coming into the chat box. But before I do that, just going to take a quick sip of water, guys. Okay. So Beverly is saying, it's a brilliant presentation, thank you. You're more than welcome, Beverly. Leon is saying, will I be able to see all the Q&A that were not answered in the live session? I'm not sure actually what you're asking, but just to be clear guys, your questions are I can see, but the other students can't see your questions, because otherwise you'd have a chat box that's moving constantly. I have a whole team here organizing the questions so that I can read them and answer them out. You guys would have no other time but to look at questions and answers if they all came through into your chat box. So you can see my questions, I can see your question, or you can see my answers, I can see your questions, and that's how the system works. Marcus is asking, are there practical tasks? There actually are, but they are part of the toolkit bonus video. So I give you practical tasks at the end of each toolkit bonus video. Again guys, entirely optional, but if you do wish to become a web developer, definitely worth giving a try, just so that you get used to some of the processes in terms of actually writing a web page. This is great. If in a live classroom, the noise would have been terrible in this pause mode. Christian, you're absolutely right. It does mean there's no distractions to learning as well. How deeply will we be learning JavaScript? I'm not sure if I clarified this, but the introduction course is 4 weeks long and the advanced course is 12 weeks long. The introduction course mainly focuses on the front end, so HTML, CSS, JavaScript, from a practical perspective. So from a practical perspective, we only look at the front end in this introduction course. We look at the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We'll be learning more about the basic programming concepts and we'll be applying them to JavaScript. So we'll look at how we can create some basic interactions with JavaScript. However, one of the 3 semesters of the advanced course goes into a lot of detail about JavaScript, because if you want to create something unique in your web app, well, you're going to want to learn how to write JavaScript. So we'll be looking at the jQuery library, we'll be looking at Ajax, and we'll be looking at event handling in particular as well. Can I turn any content management platform into an e-commerce website? The answer actually is no. Content management systems, depending on which one you use, some are unable to convert into an e-commerce website. So you have to use a content management system that's specifically supposed to do e-commerce in order to do that. You're more than welcome, Srikara. Do you get a certificate once you pass? Yes, you automatically get an e-diploma for completing the final exam, and you can get a hard copy diploma if you wish. It's an extra fee, of course, but we will send out the e-diploma out to you if you do that. Will we be covering responsive websites? That's actually a good question. So for those of you guys who have some experience of web development, you'll have heard of the term responsive before. Responsive basically means, guys, one website that works well on both on a desktop and on a mobile phone. So it'll look nice no matter which you're on. The thing about responsive websites, guys, is that is more the domain of web design. Web design is all about making the website look good and feel good. So the focus of that is actually on the design side of things. We have a web design on-demand course available for any student here. If you guys are a Premium Plus member, you can add that straight away if you want. If you're not a Premium member, well, unfortunately, actually, if you're a Premium member at all, you'll be able to add it automatically through your Add Courses section, if that's the side you're interested in, or in addition to this. But if you're not a Premium member, you'll have to purchase the course separately. How deep will we be learning JavaScript? Oh, you asked the question again, that's okay. No problem at all, Beverly. Let's say you have the hardware and setup to host your website from your own server. How and where are domains registered if you don't want to use a host but do it yourself? You actually still have to purchase a domain from a domain vendor. So like any of the host providers will be domain sellers as well. However, you can redirect them to your own server. Again, Pierre, I strongly recommend against it unless you have been studying it for several years, because it's quite the task to set up your own server. Will we be notified when the weekly assignments are released? Actually, Mohammed, we will be, but to clarify, they're available on the Friday of each week, so you'll be able to access them. This Friday will be the first set, next Friday will be the second set, and so on. You're more than welcome, Kausar, for the lecture. It's my pleasure to teach you guys. Can you apply for the hard copy later if not done at the beginning? Yes, I do believe so, but I'm actually not sure. The hard copy is actually just a new feature that we're offering as of this month, because we didn't have the implementation in place beforehand, and I forgot to clarify whether you can. I assume that you can though. Can we find a job with this diploma? The answer actually is no. This introduction course is not enough to be a professional web developer, guys. I should have made this clearer actually at the beginning. Like, 4 weeks is not enough to be a professional web developer. You have to, at the very least, take the advanced course or do something of that caliber of material learned. Like, web development is a big industry, it's very well paid, and there's a very good reason that it's a very well paid industry. It's highly popular, there are so many people who need websites, not enough people who have websites, and additionally, guys, it does take time and effort to learn. But if you guys are at this lesson listening to me right now, I assume you guys have the desire to keep going and to become professionals eventually. Will we be covering e-commerce? E-commerce, we actually build an e-commerce site in the advanced course from scratch. So I don't know if that appeals to you guys. We don't use a content management system or anything like that. We actually build one up using the raw languages all the way from start to finish, the security, the back-end logic, the databases, all of that cool stuff. All of that we fit together over the 12 weeks to build an e-commerce site. Can I create a system that is able to turn a content management platform into an e-commerce website? Yes, a lot of content management systems have plugin availability. WordPress is a great example of that. However, that requires you to be a web developer, so you could even create your own content management system if you want. In fact, a lot of web developers in the world these days, their job is to create content management systems, because even if you're creating a website for your business, there will be people who are not tech savvy who need to use the website or to upload information. So part of your job is to create a content management system for those people so that they can easily upload documents. Just to give you guys an example, the weekly assignments and the toolkit lessons, I use a content management system to upload that information so that you guys can get access to it. But that's all built by the web team here at Shaw Academy. If I paid for a Premium Plus account, will I get a hard copy of the certificate after I pass the exam? Even for Premium Plus, there is a fee, but it's hugely discounted. It's $19.95 instead of $49.95. So there's a big discount on the hard copy diploma. What are the payment options that you have? Will you send it? So guys, if you're interested in Premium Plus membership and you're not yet a member, don't worry, we'll be giving you all the details you need over the next 4 weeks. Mostly we use credit card services, but you can also use options like PayPal and things like that. We'll give you all the details, guys, closer to the end of this course. Are all sessions about the same length? Yes, they're generally about 40 to 50 minutes of content and then about 10 to 30 minutes of Q&A session. When will the exam for the diploma? It'll be available at the end of week 4. The final exam and the diploma are available after the course finishes. How much time would I need in average per week to complete the 12-week advanced web development course? Well, the 12-week advanced course is about 30 hours of content, of actual lessons, and depending on what sort of background you have, if you have no background at all, you'll need a good amount of time to continue on to practice yourself. Depends on your sort of talent for programming as well, I guess. So it does vary, but there's 30 hours of actual presented content for you as well. You said now that this course is not enough for work. Do you offer advanced course? The answer is yes, we do. We offer a 12-week advanced web development course that I actually teach as well, guys. So there you go. Can you design a web page with a web development diploma? Not really. Again, design is the domain of web designers, which is not my focus in this course. We do have an on-demand web design course, guys, that you can take if that's what you'd like to do. Okay, I've just finished with this priority channel here, so I'm just going to switch to some of the other channels for a moment, guys, just to make sure that everyone is okay. Let's see, we've got Neil saying, nah, things take longer, people are impatient, you have to put the work in. Yes, absolutely, guys. People always want to be experts straight away. You're totally right, Neil. Well, the thing is, guys, web development, it does require effort, but I swear to you guys, it is very, very worth it. Like, I did not really think myself a year ago that I would be teaching web development. I was learning software programming, which is, of course, as I've mentioned, very similar. And guess what I'm doing now, guys? I am now teaching web development. No problem, Sydney. We'll see you next time. Will I be able to make my own website to sell jewelry at the end of this course? Well, you'll have the basic concepts, actually, Sandy. But if you want to, like, that's an e-commerce site you're talking about, you'll really need to do the advanced course to be able to do that. Let's have a look over here. There's lots of questions in this box. 1 second, guys. So, great presentation. Thank you, Connor. Will the web languages be described? Yes, I will be covering in depth every single web language that we will be covering. I will be covering the actual syntax and coding principles of the front end in the introduction course, and I'll be doing the second half of the front end and then the back end in the advanced course. Well presented. Thank you, Johan. Is remembering passwords considered a calling? In a way, actually, passwords on a website are stored in what's known as a database. This is the memory of a web application. Again, we'll be covering this a little later in the course, but then you access that password using a coding language, and you compare it with the password that's been inputted, and then you can figure out the answer from there. Does this course touch on PHP? Yes, it does, but the advanced course covers application of PHP. We just introduced PHP and show you guys how it fits in, and we look at the basic syntax, but we don't do any actual PHP development in this course. How deeply we'll be going into SEO? There's one lesson on it at the end of this introduction course, Louis, but if you really want in-depth SEO knowledge, I'd recommend the digital marketing course that we have. It covers a more generalized SEO. I only cover SEO from the perspective of web developers in this course. How do you create your own domain? You actually can't, Johan, because domains are all owned by the internet administrators, so you have to purchase it from them. How much is the advanced web development course and when does it start? Again, You actually get free access to the advanced course, guys, if you are not a member. If you are a premium or a premium plus member. It'll start for you guys. The next one starts 5 weeks from now, so it's a week after the end of this introduction course. Let's see. Will this diploma help you developing yourself? Absolutely. It's a great thing to have on a CV, guys, just to know that you understand how web development works. You don't have to be able to apply it, but just this introduction diploma will be a good thing to add to your CV. Thank you very much, Beulah. We'll see you next time. What is PHP? PHP stands for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. It is the back-end coding language that we'll be studying in this course. Alright, let's have a look at this final box now before we go back. Are HTML pages connected or hosted on a web server? The answer is yes, they are stored on a web server. I'm actually going to delay that until the next lesson because I cover it explicitly in the next class. So if you can hang on until then, you'll get a much clearer picture of it. When starting off, is it better to start with HTML or a content management system? That's actually a great question. So if you want to learn to be a web developer, learning a content management system won't help you at all, because content management systems are about not needing to learn about programming languages. So, but they're limited in scope, as I've mentioned. So if you want to be a web developer, HTML is the place to start. AngularJS is a framework. Let's see. Interesting from Manini, or cool stuff. Let's see. Will we get the diploma if we're on trial membership? Yes, you don't have to be a premium member to get the e-diploma, but you do have to pay for the exam. So it's $39.95 if you're not a premium plus member. No problem, Yvette. You're welcome to log off now. The recording of the Q&A session will be uploaded to the student area. If I'm doing the beginner course, when can I start the advanced course? So again, the advanced course for you guys will be 5 weeks from now. So you can start the course in 5 weeks. Alright, so just going to have a quick final look at this Q&A box here, and then I'll finish up the class. So 1 second, guys. There's actually a bunch of classes here, a bunch of questions here. So I'm gonna have a quick look here again. When's the deadline after course? Rob, it depends on whether you're, if you're not a premium member, the deadline is, let me just check the dates real quick for you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the week following, it's the 12th of March will be the deadline for you guys if you're not members. In advanced course, will we be using PHP, or can we choose Java or .NET as well? So the advanced course here focuses on PHP, but it is worth noting the principles are the same. So if you prefer Java or .NET, you'll be able to learn to apply the knowledge and the application of PHP to using Java or .NET. It's a great advantage, guys, of learning to be a programmer, is that for every language you learn, it makes all the other languages much easier to learn. It's kind of like learning a real language in that way. I'm attending this course so I can understand my customer. Very good. Yes, we have been doing, of course, questionnaires and surveys from you guys, and some of you guys, of course, aren't planning on being developers. You just kind of want to get an idea of web development, which is totally fine. This course is perfectly suited to you for that. No problem, Kausar. We'll see you next time. Thank you for the introduction course. Tried the pre-developed way. Now I got my domain, but this one will give me a finishing touch to make it my own. So, good stuff, Christian. Yes, a lot of people start with content management systems and then realize that they need to do more than what the CMSs provide. So, you're absolutely in the right place. Not 100% sure what an e-commerce is. Can you clarify? Yes, it is electronic commerce. So basically it's the sale of products online. So things like Amazon are a perfect example of an e-commerce site. So you can build a website to sell a product. If you have a product that you wish to sell, well then you can build what's known as an e-commerce site. But e-commerce sites have some technical requirements, because you have to be able to take payments online, you have to be able to secure your user against data stealing and things like that. So there's a little bit more involved in building an e-commerce site. Is there a particular reason for choosing PHP? Yes, I chose PHP for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the easiest language to learn at the start. It doesn't require you to use a framework, basically. .NET requires you to use a framework. Additionally, PHP is not associated with a company. .NET Framework is very, very much owned by Microsoft, ASP namely. .NET is a framework, by the way. ASP is the language that the .NET Framework uses. So ASP, the main way to write ASP is using Microsoft's framework. I don't want to teach you guys using a framework because it's harder to learn if you're writing in a framework. PHP allows me to start from first principles, so that's the reason why I use PHP. How can we see the schedule? Mustafa, I'll be uploading the slides. They'll be available in your toolkit area tomorrow, so you can have a look at the full course agenda. Do I need to listen to the whole Q&A to get the toolkit? Actually, to clarify, guys, if you're in attendance for 45 minutes or more, you will get access to the toolkit. So you don't need to be here from start to finish. Let's see. Am I right that through my trial website I found that with CMS it feels like a prepaid Survive, but with HTML you actually see how it's all constructed? Absolutely correct. So if you're writing HTML, you're building it from scratch yourself, everything from start to finish. If you're using a CMS, it does all of that work for you, which is nice sometimes. It lets you build a fast website really quickly and cheaply, but it gives you limited abilities to sort of make it do exactly what you want. Lifetime, if you're a lifetime member, guys, you are a Premium Plus member. So you don't need to worry about that, Gideon. If you're a lifetime member, you are a Premium Plus member. Alright guys, just gonna have a quick scan through and then we'll finish up. I'll be finishing up in about 5 minutes. So what do we need to do with XML? XML is something similar to HTML but has a different purpose. I'll be covering that more in the advanced course. You don't need to know it as a beginner developer. Let's see. In this course we study, yes, we will be studying everything that you listed. There's another language that we're learning, guys, called SQL, which is how we can memorize and pull memorized information. More details on that in our backend, what is backend lesson. Do I need hosting and a domain name for this course? No, absolutely not. You don't need to purchase a domain name and have a hosted website. You can actually learn for free on your own computer. You can use what's known as a development server, which is inaccessible to users on the internet, but it'll allow you to build and practice all the things that we'll be learning in this course. Alright guys, I am going to finish up the class now. I hope you had a very enjoyable lesson 1. Have a lovely morning, afternoon or evening, wherever it is you guys are in the world, and we shall see you guys next time.